Okay, so honestly, I was not very impressed after seeing the first reveal trailer and screenshots for this new TMNT game called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. However, after playing the game, the overall package I think really comes together. Ah! Ah! Whoa! Oh, it's afterwards. Okay. I am pleasantly surprised on how good this was. I did go in with low expectations, so maybe that had something to do with it. Even though I do have some good things to say, there are still some things bad here. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and I'll go ahead and give you my ultimate recommendation on who should be picking this game up. Oh, I have to go there? Okay, that's fine. Yeah. AP. AP. Alright, so this is going to be my review of the game. We're going to briefly cover the story, the gameplay loop, then we're going to go into the good and bad. So the story, it starts in the Turtles base with Michelangelo. Everyone is pretty much split up. He gets bombarded and ambushed by the Foot Clan, who somehow gets past everyone's defenses here, so Mikey tries to fight them off. Your opportunity. In the meantime, exit quickly before I change my mind. Foot, we leave. Master Splinter would be so disappointed. Who's that ninja? Apparently, the Foot Clan here has infiltrated because they are searching for Shredder's Kabuto. That's pretty much his helmet. And I guess in this particular storyline, after defeating the Shredder, they obtained his helmet and they kept it inside of their base. So they're being led by Karai. If you don't know who this is Shredder's daughter. She's getting help with the help of Baxter Stockman, who's pretty much their tech guy. So they succeed, and then they move on to the rest of the Turtles individually in different storylines. And fine. Her name is Oroku Karai. She's the descendant of the Rokosaki the Shredder. She will conquer your city, raise the Foot Clan, and grind you turtles into, yeah. Oh, yeesh. Got a guy talking, he won't shut up. Basically, Ralph is on the rooftops gathering information. Donnie is working on getting the communications back up, not just from their little turtle walkie-talkies, but it looks like the whole city's comms went out. And then Leo is running into trouble himself, going after the Foots and maybe getting a little over, a little too much over his head. And then Mikey's just prowling the streets at the start, trying to get everyone together. And that's how the story starts. Oh, dude, look at this. I have to get to that turret. Like, I'm gonna lose a life. Radical juggle. Okay, so let's move over to the gameplay loop. This is a turn-based strategy game that is played on a grid. You control one turtle per stage, and you're gonna be fighting your way through many different enemies. You have 6 action points to either move, attack, and use special abilities. There's different play styles for all of the 4 turtles that you're going to be playing. Mikey has really short range, but he has the most movement ability out of the turtles, being able to move him as well as the enemies across the stage. Raphael can play in different ways. He is the brawler of the group, KOing enemies, lets him go again, and also gives him different benefits, but he might use up too much HP to do so. Donnie plays a little bit more strategically, kind of like a tower defense, where he has a little bit of longer range thanks to his bow staff, and he uses shock traps so enemies step on them and they get hurt. And then Leo plays very stoic. He has very strong single target. He has a lot of evasion here. He's, the leader. The stages you're going to be playing on, you're mostly fighting through and surviving and, running through the stages. Primarily, the different stage settings for the turtles are going to be Mikey on the streets. You have a lot of environmental hazards like cars to not get hit over. There's also NPCs who randomly attack enemies and throw hot dogs to you. Boom! Damn, citizens of New York. You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. You then play as Ralph on the rooftops. You're going to be jumping through different rooftops, lots of enemies in really small areas. And then you have Donnie, who's going to be in the sewers, and there's a lot of instances where you're going to be trying to protect yourself and enemies are just closing on in, so you have to find a way to play against that. And then Leo, it's all about that balanced play, going through the subway, lots of large targets with pretty much, you know, lots of HP and lots of different abilities like evasion. So pretty much your turtle starts with 6 health, 6 action points, and 3 lives per stage. I would say stages last around 10 to 30 minutes. This is depending on how fast you play. You don't have to go too fast. You can take your time because this is a turn-based game. Poisoned. Oh, I got hit. You have lots of skills that do different things. Moving around, buffing yourself with extra power. You have debuffs on enemies, making them take more damage, maybe stopping their movement speed. Different AoE. For example, Donatello has a bow staff. He can hit multiple enemies at once. And speaking of him, there's traps. You can also push enemies. Because this is like a grid-based game, you can actually push characters off of train tracks. You can push them off of buildings, and then they just completely get wrecked. So pushing in this game is a big thing, as well as your turtle placements. And you have different loadouts. Now this is interesting because in each stage, right before you go in, you can change your loadout. You can have slightly different variations depending on your turtle. So Mikey is all about running around and attacking. You can still do kind of the same, except maybe in a smaller AoE fashion. So in this game, I would say there's around 20 stages or so, and that's it. Let's move on to the pros and cons. What did I like and dislike? All right, so I think this is actually a pretty fun strategy game. I really like strategy games where they allow you to express yourself, and it's not just a perfect scenario type of thing where you can literally go online and say, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. I think those are really boring strategy games. Here, there's no perfect easy ways to win. There's lots of options, and after every turn, random foot soldiers and enemies pop in different areas, so it's never the same. I think this game has just the right amount of difficulty here. You can absolutely make some mistakes because you have different HP, you have different lives, and you're only worrying about using 1 turtle per stage. So, you know, the skills that you use, the 5 skills and the basic attacks, you're really going to learn and get used to the 4 play styles. And of course, you are going to be messing with their loadouts too, but this game is really fun. Oh crap. Go, go, go. Thinking. Gotta take this guy out. I can't gangway. What did I do that for? Yeah. Am I gonna get hit? It's also very reminiscent of beat 'em up games, the genre, I know, right? So in this game, especially the Mikey stages, you're always forced to move around. For example, you have 1 turn where you're attacking and destroying enemies. Whether you defeat them or not, the stage will start to then mutate. More rooms will pop up, and older rooms will lose their footings, and if you're in there, you will lose your life. Same thing for the enemies though, so you can use that to your advantage. That's mostly it, unless you're in like a defensive stage like Donnie, where you're gonna be just surrounded by enemies every single turn. But it absolutely has that feel of beating enemies down, moving, finding heals, move and fight again. Yeah, it just reminds me of playing the Super Nintendo game. Oh, someone's here? Not anymore. Wow, he just died. Also, the game is pretty easy to pick up. It flows fast, even though you can take your time. You're gonna end up knowing which moves to use one after another, using the AP just right. I think if you are used to board games and strategy games, you're gonna pick this up really fast. The game has decent skill variety. I did mention earlier that you have basically your 3 main skills, which are set in 2 loadouts. For example, if you pick Raphael, his first sort of loadout that you get It's mostly more action point gaining on KOing enemies, and then if you choose to purchase his second loadout and use that, it's more HP resource dependent. You can use a much powerful skill where you can take out enemies and change your placement up, but you are going to be using 1 HP, which is very scary. However, if you are able to KO enemies with a very weak skill, you're going to get your HP back. Besides your 3 main skills that you can mess with, you have your 2 secondary skills that you can also swap out. For example, Donnie's trap, he throws a electric grenade and it sort of forms in a cross. If you choose to use the second version of that, it now goes in a 5 grid right in front of you. And probably one of my most favorite skills is his home run skill that you can unlock. Basically, you smack any enemy in front of you. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it completely throws them into a random spot on the map. It's so insane. Damn it, I messed up. Juggle. Right next to me. Nice. Juggle again. Super far. Good. Get out of here. Next, the presentation I think is really good here. It has that board game-esque feel, and I can absolutely see this being turned into a physical game that you can play with a campaign. You know, the art style is all about figurines here. There are different poses when you attack, when you defend. You know, it has a little bit of really nice Easter eggs and a lot of really nice touches to it. Like when you move with Michelangelo, because he's the fastest, he can move like 2-3 spaces. He after you move, he's in a sort of skateboard pose. I really like that. Okay, let's move over to the cons. I think the UI is really bad, especially in the menus. For example, I played on keyboard and mouse, and I tried it on controller. It's a little bit better on keyboard and mouse because you have your literal mouse visual, but if you are using a controller, it is really hard to see what you have selected for your particular loadout. I had an issue where the UI was really hard to see what I was on. I was clicking things to try to move different skills around, and I was wondering why the heck it wasn't happening. I was streaming, and some other people are like, yeah, this is really weird. What's going on? It was a bug, so I had to restart the game. Hopefully it's fixed by the time you watch it, so hopefully in the future, but you had to restart the game in order to change the loadout. But that doesn't change the fact that, yeah, the UI is just not that great here. It's very visualized and stylized, but I felt like they could have made it just a little bit more clear. You had to restart the game for it to work. Oh my god. Also, there are some things the game doesn't tell you at all. On the main menu, you have play, you have shop, you have loadout. Cool. That means you're going to be getting stuff later on. However, once you go into the tutorial after you beat it, it just says, okay, click next or go back. Well, why would I go back to the main menu? I want to keep clicking ahead. So you click ahead. You go to the next stage, you beat it, you click ahead, go to the next stage, you keep going. And you get these little turtle points, but the game never says, like, there's never a tutorial or anything that says, hey, you can go back out, you can get a different loadout, you can buy skills. It doesn't have that. The only reason I actually went back to the menu to unlock stuff is because I remember seeing all of that from the start, so the game doesn't tell you that. It's not that hard to know, but if you really aren't paying attention, you're just going to go through the game with the same skills over and over again, which is fine, but come on, you want to use all of the stuff you got. Another thing is, I'm unfortunately not a fan of the music here. It's a little weird, and you know, no dig on the devs here, but when playing a Turtles game, I want to feel like I'm playing the beat 'em up, so I ended up muting the game. Well, only the music of the game. I still have the sound effects, right? And I just played on YouTube the Super Nintendo SNES beat 'em up soundtrack of Turtles in Time, you know, Turtles 4, and then after that, because that's only like half an hour for the whole thing, I put on some video game music. Hold on. Let's turn the music down for a minute. Much better. All right, another thing that could be off is the story and art style. I think could come off as pretty basic. So you're just doing the usual fighting against foot soldiers, Mousers, robots, and yeah, you have different variations of them. I mean, what else could you do? It's Turtles. You're not going to just make up something random. So it makes sense that, yeah, it's the Foot Clan. It's their major stuff. But some people might think it's a little like samey. Also, the design of the Turtles. They're not old school from what I can tell, and they're not like the new little baby teen ones. I think it's a mix of both, and I'm not sure if this is meant to, because I'm not familiar with every single iterations of the Turtles these days, so I'm not sure if this is based off any specific one. You like getting pushed? Plus radical. Okay, what's my move again? On KO heal. I move here, and damage is 3. You know, okay, so we want to line them up 2 in front. Another thing is that there's no voice acting here, but that is to be expected. This is a much smaller game for sure. And the game is short, which could be good or bad in your opinion. Once again, I think it's to be expected. It's a much cheaper game at around $20. You can absolutely beat this game in maybe 6 to 10 hours, and this is depending on how fast you go. Okay, so let's go over everything in this quick summary here. Absolutely was completely pleasantly surprised. I think the trailers and screenshots don't do this game justice. I would absolutely watch some more raw gameplay of someone just trying this game out. For example, I stream the game. You can absolutely watch everything that I put up on the Mobby vs. Games 2 channel. I'll put a link in the comments below if you want to check that out. Just skim through it so you can see more. Another thing is it's a really cheap game. Once again, $20. You can beat pretty fast. And I think the game respects your time. I'm not doing something that I'm like, ugh, it's a chore. No, it's like, oh, this is a fun challenge. What am I going to do next? I want to unlock more stuff, you know? I think definitely the good outweighs the bad here. So who do I ultimately recommend this to? I think if you're a TMNT fan, there's enough here that you might be fine going in, even if you're not a huge strategy person, because it doesn't feel like it. They really made it so it's like, yeah, you can just take your time and think about it, but it plays like a beat 'em up. It really does. I would also recommend this game to strategy fans, you know, who like stuff like Fire Emblem, but are looking for more of a quote-unquote lighter game. You know, I'm not saying this game is easy. There's still a challenge here, but there's enough here with enough customization. You're not going to be overwhelmed with trying to, you know, court your favorite waifu or husbando or anything. You're just going in and playing a beat 'em up that's in the form of a strategy grid-based game. All right, so to end things, once again, charming and fun. I really hope I really hope that this game actually gets more attention. I think it's a great release from these devs, and the devs are Strange Scaffold. So I applaud you. Good job. This was a really fun game. So if you guys liked the video, please like and subscribe. Link down below for more videos, and of course, comments in the description for the Let's Play of this game if you want to see it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.